Hey, good day, folks, all you ADU enthusiasts out there. I wanted to make a video for Ryan. Ryan commented and he had two really good questions. So this is going to be a question and answer session. The two questions he posed today were, what facets of the build do you personally do yourself and what do you sub out? And question two was, what are some of the challenges you run into? So I'll start with the worst first. There's a ton of challenges when we're going to DIY an ADU in our backyard. And I would say the largest single challenge is red tape. Everybody in the process, they don't really want to tell you no, but the system is designed so that during every step of the process, no is the primary answer until you meet a criteria. So the biggest challenge is getting the permit and planning process through the planning office, through the plan review, through the zoning office, through the assessor's office. There's all these different sets of eyes that go across your plan and your build, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong and only a few things that can go right. Behind that, I would say the next biggest challenge is the infill. I don't want to say negative attitude, it's just that people don't like change. And there's this process when you build an ADU where you go through the planning, you meet that challenge, you finally have permits in hand, and you go out into your front yard, side yard, or backyard, and you start prepping the site. And your neighbors are going to inquire about what you're doing if you haven't already informed them. And the truth is, people don't like it when you're building in your own backyard. There's this term that's thrown around a lot. I don't like to use it, but it refers to people who don't want things going on in their backyard, and in this process, you're going to be attempting to build an ADU in your backyard, and those forces do meet. So the second biggest challenge I say is pleasing your neighbors, which sometimes aren't going to be pleasable. So that's just a challenge that we have to work through. There is a clear criteria that we can meet to do an accessory dwelling unit, and that code basically has tie-breaking power. So if you start an ADU and your neighbor looks over the fence and they're giving you dirty looks and they hate what you're doing, or they tell you that you're negatively impacting their property, just try to be as kind as you can, but keep your head down and know you're doing the right thing by adding housing. Another problem or challenge that I see is scheduling. Even if you're not using a lot of subs, if you're doing all the work yourself, construction is just laden with delays. Contractors are known for being flaky, so keeping a schedule can be a huge challenge. I'd say that's probably in the top three. Outside of that, building an accessory dwelling unit, whether you're doing it yourself or you're acting as your own general contractor or you're subbing out the whole process, there's still a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of stress. So I remind people that I'm coaching that a yes to an ADU, it will change your life. It may be the best decision you ever make, but it's going to be hard. And a yes to an ADU project is a no to other things, soccer games or time with the family and whatnot. A few other challenges that I run into are weather. It takes twice as long to do an exterior project when it's pouring rain. Here in the Pacific Northwest, obviously we build seasonally. Some people build seasonally. But if you're building year-round, you have to incorporate weather. So that's another challenge that adds to delays. And the last thing that I would probably mention is price fluctuation. So we all start with a budget, and it just seems like there's always price creep. So it's nice to do weekly check-ins with your own accounting system to see where you're at, because it's really easy for a budget to kind of just balloon out of control. So those are a few of the challenges that I run across. And then Ryan's second question was, what do I do myself and what do I sub out? So I have a building background. I may do a little bit more than you may be able to do, but that's not always the case. I mean, every one of these steps is doable by anybody with the right training and the right time. But the answer to his question is there's a few things that I never do myself. I sub out the foundation work, just because the price that it would take to buy all the forums and all the stakes and all the panels. Here we do a footing with a 24-inch stem wall. So I would need hundreds of linear feet of footing forum, as well as 24-inch panel material and all the other tools that go with it. So I did the math. It would take me about 20 accessory dwelling unit foundations to pay off everything I would need to do a foundation. And I can just pay a foundation contractor between $30 and $40 a linear foot to do the stem wall and footing for me. So I sub out foundation work. I also sub out drywall and insulation. If you've seen some of my videos, you'll see a good explanation of why. It basically boils down to they order so much more volume that I can hardly buy drywall and insulation for the price that I can pay them to provide it, deliver it, and install it. So those are another two. And then the last three that I sub out are HVAC, HVAC. It's a comfort thing. So if I have a tenant in here in a couple of years and there's a problem with the HVAC system, I don't have to fix it. I can call the HVAC company. The labor and parts and material are usually under warranty for 10 to 15 years on these Daikin mini splits I'm using. And then the last two, and these are the big ones, are plumbing and electrical. So in our state, with our code, if we own the property, we can do electrical and plumbing, but the risk is just high. There's obviously a life safety risk with electrical, and plumbing, again, is the number one callback when we're looking at who is our end user, what is the goal. The goal for this accessory dwelling unit is to be a long-term rental. And if I can defer the few biggest problem children of the rental world to a professional, I'm going to choose to do that. And yes, I have to pay them top dollar up front for those services, but in the end, what I'm going to get is less headaches. If I have any issue with we've had some brand new GFIs that are tripping, or new smoke CO detectors that are chirping, I can just call the contractor on that and they can take care of it. So everything else I try to do myself. The whole process can be done by a DIYer, but I've found it not economical and not the greatest and best use of my time, even as a builder, to do those few trades. So thanks for your comments, Ryan. I hope that helped. And this ADU here, where we just put drywall in, I'll flip around here and show everybody. Drywall, tape, and texture just went in. This, if you haven't watched any of this ADU Pro Tip series, this is a 524 square foot, 1 bedroom, 1 bath accessory dwelling unit. It has a 200 square foot storage loft. It's an open vaulted ceiling, so we have 16-foot ceilings, a lot of volume in here to make this space feel larger than it is. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Like and subscribe to the channel if you choose, but more than that, I would just love to see people take this information, use it to take action to build an accessory dwelling unit or help your friends build one. And just one more thing I'd like to tie into is the kind of the hero's journey of the process of not pleasing the neighbors. It's been my experience that when you start to build an accessory dwelling unit, nobody really is that excited about it. As you build it and as you get closer to completion, there's a little bit more interest from the neighbors. And usually when they're done, people want to come over and see them and check them out. And you usually at that point can, use some of the skills that you've learned and share them with your neighbors, because chances are they're going to want one too. Derek, that ADU guy, thanks a lot.